Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the Oriental Café, a podcast where we will sit at the same table to explore the fascinating worlds of Egyptian dance, personal empowerment, and halas, life. I'm your host, Joana Saahirah, world-renowned Oriental dancer, teacher, choreographer, and author, the creator of the pioneering Joana Saahirah's World and Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. I will meet you at the Oriental Café every 2 weeks, alone or with a guest, sharing intimate yet universal conversations. In agreement or disagreement, we will create bridges and inspire each other, because the world is only one, and so is our human soul. Ready to fall in love? Yalla bina! Welcome to a new episode of the Oriental Café podcast. This is a very special episode. When I was thinking about the podcast, and this has been on my mind for a long time, I had it very clear that I would bring people I would find interesting, kind-hearted, people from different walks of life, different areas, different interests that would inspire me and inspire our listeners. And my guest today is one of that special people. She's not only one of my best friends, we've known each other for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
But independently of that, and as you will see, she's a rich individual with a beautiful mind, a beautiful heart, and a soul that is worth listening to. So I am very happy to host my friend Susana Vitorino.
Oh my God.
Susaninha.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That's an introduction that's don't make me cry in the beginning,
Yes,
please.
it's heartfelt. It's heartfelt.
I
So I
know.
hope you could feel it. Usually I present my guest and I ask my guest to present herself or himself in their own words. So you do so many beautiful things. You're an actress, you are an astrologer, you work with theater, with television, you've worked with so many areas of interest, of artistic interest, but I believe that we keep evolving, and the definition we offer ourselves of who we are evolves with time and with experience. So in that sense, I would love to know, how do you see yourself today? How would you introduce yourself today?
Oh my God, Joanna. You're starting with very difficult questions. Those are the questions I ask myself almost every day because as you put it so well, I have so many interests in so many areas. Sometimes they seem a little different from each other, but they aren't so different from each other. So I like to see myself as someone who likes to bring the best out of people. It doesn't matter what tools or abilities I'm using, but I like to make people grow. I like to help people with self-development, with self-growth. And I love to help people um, to look to look in their own life um, with potential, with the potential I see in them. So I'm a very restless soul. Um, as a friend of mine once put it so well, he told me, Susanna, you're such a restless soul. My God. And I use it as a tagline nowadays. It's my tagline. I'm a restless soul. Sometimes whatever that means, I'm just that restless soul because my passion, I think that deep down my passion is um, human beings. That's my passion. people, human beings. I love the anthropological approach to study them, to listen to them, um, to provoke them as well. So I don't know. Sometimes it's difficult for me to introduce myself in in a classic way. So I don't have a classic way to talk about myself or about what I do. I don't know. I hope this kind of helps to know me a little better.
It does. And I immediately I have a question. Is being a restless soul a positive or a negative thing, or both?
I think both, because we live in a world where people expect that you kind of tick in the boxes, in some boxes that you have to study, you have to get married, you have to have children, you have to have a job, 9 to 5 job, and I have none. So um, I don't tick the boxes, and sometimes that's negative, and hard, above all in our society, in our world. That's very hard sometimes. That's harsh. Um, but right now, in this moment of my life, that I'm 50 years old, um, that's a good thing. I'm happy that I don't tick the boxes,
Mm.
and because my restless soul just gave me this hunger to search for more, to learn, to watch, to observe, to travel through people, not so much through the world as you did, but through people, through situations. And that's a good thing. But I can appreciate it now that I'm 50.
Hmm. Does it come with acceptance? Because with time and maturity, the potential of self-acceptance comes along. It is an invitation. Not everyone will accept of themselves and how they are, but I believe that time gives you that gift, right? That as
Yes,
time goes by, it comes to a point when you say, you know what? I may not fit this or that box, but I'm okay with who I am. That's fine. I
yes,
am perhaps even tired of not being fine with it. And this is something I see with students. A lot of women in their 50s, in their 60s, in their 70s, suddenly they realize, you know what? I am tired of not being okay with who I am. So screw it,
yes,
screw the boxes, screw the
yeah,
labels. I have no more time for this bullshit. So they come to a place of contentment with who they are, even if who they are is not what society tells them they're supposed to be. Do you think
yes,
that's a gift of time?
yes, it is. Absolutely. It is the gift of time, the acceptance, and the tiredness as well, because it takes a lot of energy to to be angry, um, to want to fit in some square, or in someone's square, society square, your parents' square, your boyfriend or girlfriend square, your friend's square. Um, and yes, we have to come to terms with that. Um, I'm tired of being tired, and I'm tired of fighting against it.
Mm, mhm.
So, but I told you that this is a difficult question, because this is the very crossroad right now in my life. I'm living it as we speak. You know, I am in that crossroad in this exact moment in time. Uh, I kind of feel this urge of screw it, you
Yeah.
know, screw it.
Yes.
I'm tired of being the good girl. I'm tired of want to eat in whatever or whomever square. And that's a new thing. So it's thank you for for letting me think aloud with you and talk about it because it's a very present issue in my life.
Yes, yes, I know. And I love that we touched the subject of exhaustion, of being tired. And this is something that I've noticed in friends, in myself for sure, in women that are around me, in my circle, that there is a huge role attributed to exhaustion. Usually we see it as a negative thing. I am tired, I am sick and tired of. But what I've observed is that exhaustion, when you're really tired, has a place of cleaning. It has a cleansing function. When you're tired, you are removed of the energy, the extra energy that you would usually use worrying about what others think, what others want, what you should be doing, what you should not be doing. Suddenly, the lack of energy coming from exhaustion will give you the clarity of where you should put your energy. Where is the essential spot or spots where your energy, which is your presence, should actually be? So I love when I hear you talking about being tired and sick and tired with a smile on your face, because what that tells me is you've reached the point when you don't have energy to worry about what is not essential anymore. Therefore, you go to the essential. That is the essential for
Yeah.
you as an individual. What makes sense for you as an individual. And that is so beautiful, but also very mainstream. Very mainstream. When students comment with me, I'm exhausted, I say, good, 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 good. Be more exhausted, be more, more, more. Take it to the extreme, because at the bottom of the exhaustion, there is only the essential. When we cannot waste energy, we use the little energy we have to look with absolute clarity what is important and what is not.
You know that you are describing Pluto.
I
You
am.
are,
Okay.
yes, you are on the spot. You
Really?
are describing Pluto's energy and
Uh,
Pluto's transit. You're describing it perfectly. That's exactly what it does.
Hmm. Okay, okay, that is beautiful. We're gonna talk about astrology in a little second. So let me go to my notes because we have a lot to discuss.
Okay.
How do you define friendship? Let's start with the theme of friendship. How do you see it nowadays? And how do you think we can become better friends to our friends, especially in an age of overwhelm, so many distractions, so many commitments, so many obligations and pressures? I personally find it very challenging to be a good friend nowadays. But I would like to know what you think. What is friendship and how can we get better at it?
Okay. That's a very dear thing to me, friendship. It's one of the most important things in my life, as I see it. Um, I'm an only child, so let's begin with that. I don't have any siblings, so I think friendship became this crucial part of my life because of that too. I cherish my friends a lot, and I think that one of the most maybe painful experiences that I've had was when I found out that you can have ex friends. Along my life, I've discovered okay, we can have ex friends as well, not only ex-boyfriends, but ex-friends. And that was a painful truth. That was a painful reality, but it helps to grow a lot. I see friendship. I used to say, kind of a joke, but it's very serious at the same time. That friendship is love without sex, without the sexual thing, without the erotic thing around it. Um, Being a friend or friendship for me takes presence. But when I talk about presence, I'm not talking about physically being physically present only. That's very important. Of course it is. But we have to be clever enough to use technology in our favor to work with that. And it happens with us. You know that that
Big time.
happens
Big time.
big
Perhaps too
time.
much.
That happens big time with us. But thank God we have technology, you know, because you've been living abroad so many times and so many years of your life and working abroad and everything else. So thank God for technology. So let's be smart. Let's be clever to use it. I'm going to tell you something I did recently when we were in the pandemics, through the pandemics. In 2020, I asked myself a question because we couldn't get out of our homes. We were confined, everything that happened. And I was like, Susana, what can you do to be with your friends right now in a more loving way, present way, cherishing them? So I brought back the Christmas cards, written Christmas cards. I've always loved to write letters to my friends, as you do,
Yes.
always.
Yes.
I have your letters. I love them. I have to tell you this. And your postcards. They are, just little bubbles of love. And I did that. I sent a lot of Christmas cards that year. And my friends, they were just so touched because people are so eager for presents, for more soul, more love, more reality. And a couple of friend of mine's, they were like, Susana, the kids, their children, have never received a postcard, a written postcard. They were like, we are going to put this on the fridge for us to see every day. They were so happy because their children have never seen a postcard before, a written one, a handwritten one. And that was amazing. And I've sent them in 2021, 2022. Last year, 2023, I haven't because I was very tired and I was traveling and I came to Portugal. It was very close to Christmas and I was like, you know what? I'm very tired this year. I'm not going to write the postcards because they are not an obligation. They are an act of love. Because I like to go to a cafe, being cozy with my pen and my postcards and thinking about the person and invoking the person, and each one of them are personalized, are customized. So I was not this year. I'm very tired, and this is going to be an obligation, and I don't want it to be an obligation. this is an act of love. So if it's not going to be an act of love, let's not do it. And I didn't. But this for me is how you can be a better friend, you ask. Check in with your friends. Just check in with them from time to time. You don't have to call every day. You don't have to text every day. You don't have to leave a voice message every day. But just check in with your friends from time to time, because when we are connected, that's my thing. When we are connected, I think our heart, our soul, we can feel, we can feel people. You know, if you connect, you can feel your friends, you can feel your people. So, you know, my friend is very quiet. Let me check in if everything is okay, you know. So check in, um, send something maybe unexpected. It's, you don't have to buy presents or, you know, big things or expensive things. Just the little things, they are so meaningful. They are so rich. So be present in so many ways, as many ways as you can think of. It's always going to be your way, of course. But you do that. For instance, you always have the little, you know, those little things, those little gifts, those amazing letters, those amazing postcards, you know, and that's the thing, because that says, I'm thinking about you. You are here with me. I'm in India, or I'm in Egypt, or I'm in Spain, I'm in whatever, but you are here with me. And I saw this and I thought about you. And that's a beautiful thing, you know. So you can be present in so many ways. But do check in with your people. I think that's the way.
Do you think it comes down to making your friends feel they matter? That's one dimension. And giving them a little bit of the soulfulness that I feel we're lacking so painfully in our daily lives, because friendship in particular is a territory for soulfulness. We're totally free. There is no agenda. See, when you are in a romantic relationship, for instance, as you mentioned, there is the sexual component. So there are so many expectations. And I love romantic relationships. They are great schools, and they are, or they can be, sources of incredible blessings and happiness, but they come with expectations. They come with certain rules. They come with certain pressures. In friendship, I feel we can be totally free of expectation, totally free to be fully human with each other, and to show each other that we care in a very carefree, spontaneous, organic manner. This is what I feel distinguishes friendship from other types of relationship. Also, the fact that we can show our vulnerabilities, and this is one of the measurements, at least for me, of a great relationship, when you can be totally transparent. You're not just showing the good stuff or the happy stuff. You're not selling a version of who you are or what you would like others to see you as. You have a freedom and you have a territory where you know you can be totally open. Like in therapy.
Almost sometimes.
Almost like in therapy, yeah. There is such freedom, you know, but once again, I think it comes from each one of us. I mean, if I'm not willing to be vulnerable with a friend, that friend is not going to make me vulnerable. Nobody will make you vulnerable except yourself. So it has to come from you. I have to be okay being fully human in front of another human being. And if I'm not okay, then I don't think intimacy can happen and true friendship can happen.
Yeah, and that's very interesting because you talked about having agendas, and sometimes friendship comes with agendas, unfortunately. But once again, um, being mature and being older brings the ability to filter much more and to say, you know, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this person in my life. This doesn't make sense anymore. Because unfortunately, many people expect things from friends as well. And sometimes you see when someone has I don't know, maybe a social position, a certain social position, or money, or fame, or, you know, whatever.
Hmm.
But sometimes people just gravitate towards those persons
Mm.
with an intent. And sometimes when something happens and people just kind of, you know, fall into some dark places, they lose their friends.
Mm. But
Sometimes,
is that true friendship? I mean, if someone
no,
comes with
for
an
me,
agenda,
no.
yeah. So you're better off without them.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And I've also observed sometimes we mistake people who are curious about us with friends. There are
Yes.
so many who are so damn curious. They want to know what you're doing, what you're not doing, what's happening, what's not happening. From a curiosity, sometimes morbid curiosity, gossipy place. And you can feel it when someone just wants to know, as opposed to someone who wants to know because they care.
Yeah.
So in the first place, I think it is healthy to let them go, you know, and I also believe that people um have fulfilling relationships in terms of friendship, and at a certain point they go separate ways because they become different people, and suddenly there is no synchronicity anymore. There are
Yes.
no common grounds, there are no common interests. The mind has shifted so much apart from the other that it makes no sense to continue.
And that's okay. And that's okay.
Yeah,
You know, you
yeah,
can have um, a situation where life separates
mm,
people, but not for bad reasons. It's just life
yeah,
happening.
yes,
Just life happening.
yes,
People get married, have kids, have a full life. They have a lot of attention to give to other things.
mm,
And that's okay. Sometimes it's sad, but it's
mhm,
okay as well. We can catch up later if we can. Other thing that I consider important within friendship or being a good friend, as you say, is you have to be proactive. You know, people have that kind of nasty habit to say, oh, we have to have a coffee someday. So let's have a coffee someday. Let's have lunch someday. People, you are listening to me. We are going to die and we don't know when that's going to happen. So let's try not to have a coffee over a funeral, okay? That's what I used to say to some of my friends.
mm,
Oh, we have to have lunch, we have to have dinner, we have to do this, we have to do that. Okay, but when? Because the clock is ticking.
mm,
Not to pressure, but to remind them that now I'm here, tomorrow I may not be here.
mm,
You may not be here. And that's the reality. We don't want to look at that reality because we don't want to talk about death. We don't want to talk about the end. But that's the reality. So we have to be proactive as well. Just do it,
Mm.
just
And
pick up that phone and do it.
humble enough to be the one who makes the invitation, because what I also feel is that sometimes we believe, perhaps in a narcissistic way, that others have the obligation to come closer. If they were my friend, if they liked me, if they what,
Mm.
whatever, then they would invite me. I said, but okay, but why don't you do it? Because they may be asking the same thing about you,
Yeah.
right? So someone has to be the first to say, let's meet, let's do it. Also, I love that you speak about death like a good Scorpio. Of course you would. You have to.
Sorry.
No, I think it is very exciting. And sometimes when I'm talking with students about joyfulness or sensuality, pleasure, I always bring death to the table. I tell them, remember, you're going to die soon. All of us are going to die soon. So why suffer if you don't have to suffer? And why not enjoy the moment right now while you have it? Be aware of your coming death. First, it is a fact. Second, the more aware you are of death, the more aware you are of life.
Yes.
So it is
Yes.
so important that we don't run away from the fact that everything is not a given. And although this is a cliche, and lately we've been laughing about this because I've been turning into a cliche queen, something I thought I would never be. I say, oh my God, so many cliches. I'm hating myself. Because I don't like cliches, but it is true. It is true. Death is upon us, and the more aware you are of it, the more alive you will feel, and the more life-oriented choices you will make. That is so important and so beautiful. I don't think it's negative at all.
No, we are just not used to it. We don't want to talk about it. Gonna share something with you that happened yesterday. A beautiful thing, a beautiful moment to remember and cherish. Um, I'm always trying to promote family gatherings. I don't have a big family, um, but I have some cousins, and I'm always let's make this cousins gathering. Okay, let's do it. Because in a certain point of your life, at a certain point of your life, you start to meet people at funerals. That's the thing. So the marriages have passed, you know, baptizing the children have passed. And now at this certain point in life, funerals. And I always say to them, people, come on, please, let's not just gather in funerals. Okay, let's celebrate life and be together. And I've created a WhatsApp group. And, we've been in this kind of let's do it 2 years, for 2 years now. I don't know, maybe 2, 3 years, 4. I don't know. Time flies. And suddenly, a week ago, a cousin of mine um, called me and Susana, how's your Saturday? Let's have lunch with the cousins. And I was like, what? This is happening. Whoa, it's going to happen. Oh my God. Um, and it was amazing. Such a beautiful energy, and things kind of, flowed, and we had lunch, and suddenly we were at some of a couple's house, uh, having fun, having dinner, dancing. I was like, is this really happening? We were so astonished and happy. We were like, oh my God, we did it. And this is fun. And this is great. And joining, gathering different generations, their children, you know, they are teenagers, some of them are still small children. It was amazing, so beautiful. Different generations and people. I felt that the gathering that we had yesterday brought some kind of furor, some kind of um, peace and a relief. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about, people. Celebrating life, celebrating love, um, forming bonds, and a community. Because our parents, some of our parents are not with us anymore, and we are not going to be younger. So let's promote the community with love and with presence. And this is beautiful. And I'm not talking about only right cousins, you know, first cousins. I'm talking about second, third, fourth. And this is beautiful.
That brings me to one of the subjects that I would like to discuss with you indirectly, because one of the things I love the most about you is your soulfulness. And one of the reasons why I think you don't fit in the best possible way, it's because you cannot do things in a way that is not soulful. You can't.
You
You
got
just
me.
can't. Yeah, you just can't. And that is beautiful, but then it can also be a problem in terms of logistics of practical life. So I would like to ask you, what is the importance of spirituality and soul in human existence? Especially now when I personally feel we are losing track of what is the human soul. I am meeting more and more people that have lost their soul, or at least it seems to me. Even I told you not long ago, a meeting we had with one of the lawyers we've been talking about and talking with because of our home. And I remember looking at this lawyer in his eyes and asking him, when did you lose your soul?
Oh my God.
And I did not mean to be offensive. That's the worrying thing, is that I was not being sarcastic. I was not being offensive. I was
Yeah.
not being ironic. I genuinely felt pity for this man. And I asked him, when did you lose your soul? When did it happen? Where? How? I cry for you because I feel you left it somewhere. And I don't know if it is economy, politics, the speed of life, internet, mental overwhelm, or a combination of all of this and more. But my observation is that we're losing track of our human soul, of our hearts. There is no time to feel. There is no time to write postcards
Yeah.
at Christmas. There is no time to breathe. We are pushed to live faster and faster and faster, and to produce and to deliver faster and faster and faster. We're turning into machines, robots. This is my observation. Mind you, it's just an observation, right? But how do you feel we can reconnect with our soul, with our spirituality in a way that allow us to remain human? How can we remain human? How can we keep our souls intact in a world that seems to be intended on making our soul disappear?
Wow. Uh, you could have an entire podcast just talking about that. Well, I let me start by this definition that sometimes people they think spirituality is religion. So let me start by clarifying a little bit. Religion People attach religion to an institution, some kind of institution. But the word religion comes from the Latin religare. And religare means to connect with in a vertical way, not in an horizontal way. So this connection is vertical. And this religare has been cut from us somehow. So religion being connected, it's not related to have an institution, to having an institution. And I mean being Catholic, being Muslim, whatever. So this is the first, I think this is the first confusion that people make. Being spiritual, it's actually a simple thing, and you have to live it every day of your life. You have to do it every day of your life. So being spiritual is being connected, and it is being connected to your soul, to others' souls, and Mother Earth's soul. Because I think that we've lost our connection. People just separate. We have mind, body, and soul. And we have to connect them. And people just live in their mind, actually, not even in their bodies. And you know that because you are a dancer and you work with awareness, self-awareness, self-development through dance, through the body. So we have to be present in our bodies, and we have to reconnect with our bodies and with nature. If we've lost this connection, so we are living only in our minds, period. And we don't listen to our body. Our body speaks volumes with us, even to alert us with something that it's not okay with us, or some disease, or some something that is off in the moment. And we just don't listen. We just go through life without listening to our bodies. We eat poorly. We don't exercise. We don't go to nature to have some walk in the nature, to breathe some fresh air. We don't detox from social media, or, the screens, or whatever. I'm not against, this is a disclaimer. I'm kind of a techie fan. I think technology brings us a lot of great things. We are here right now having this conversation. People are going to listen to us. This is amazing. We are broadcasting to the world. I don't know who's going to listen to this conversation. I don't know who is going to bring something good of this conversation. So this is amazing. This is just amazing stuff, and I love it. So I don't have that, that thing, oh no, technology and screens and whatever, and cell phones and computers. Blah. No, they are amazing. We can do amazing stuff, amazing work, and amazing connections. But even in a screen situation, we can be present. It's more difficult. It is, because we are not looking in each other's eyes. Not really, because if I want to look into your eyes, I have to look into the camera, and that's a false looking, because I'm really looking into the camera to look as if I'm looking at you, and I'm not looking at you, you know. So here I'm looking into your eyes, but it seems like it's not, because I'm not looking into the eye of the camera. So it can be tricky, of course, but we can manage to do that. But sometimes people just, and in my experience, you know, I facilitate groups, and I'm a trainer as well. And people just, you know, sometimes they just think that being spiritual is to, I don't know, wear some kind of clothing, or, you know, a feather in your hair, or whatever. Strange things happen. That's what I call, I think I've used this expression with you sometimes. That's what I call freaky, freaky, shanty, shanty. These are the freaky, freaky, shanty, shanty people. They are people, they really, what they are doing is acting out. They are acting out. I practice shamanism. I think you know this. I'm a shamanism practitioner, because we don't have shamans in the Western culture. So we have practitioners. We are practitioners. Okay, let's let's make it clear. We're just practitioners. And my line of work in my school was created by Michael Harner. Michael Harner was an anthropologist, and it was very interesting, because he studied a lot of um, native cultures, and he had a lot of experiences. But he realized that to practice shamanism, you don't have to wear feathers in your hair, or, you know, you don't have to dress like Native American, or you don't have to dress like native from Peru or Brazil or Africa or Siberia. No, you just have to be present, to learn some techniques, of course, to learn the techniques. But you have to live things within you with truthfulness and soul. So I don't know, being spiritual can be so many different things for many people, for many different people. For me, I live it in my daily life. For me, being spiritual can be, I'm having this conversation with you, and suddenly out there, out my window, I see a beautiful butterfly. Wow, that can be an amazing moment. And that can be such a spiritual moment. And people may be asking, oh, how is that spiritual? You know, having a conversation and seeing a beautiful butterfly.
The thing about spirit and soulfulness is that you cannot see or touch it. I mean, you actually can, but usually you cannot. So that's one of the biggest difficulties, that if people cannot see it or touch it, then where is it? Like you were telling me, okay, I have a moment, I watch a bird or I watch a butterfly. I have a moment when I hug a loved one, or I do something good for a stranger, or I actually feel my heart overflowing with love. And I know that I am experiencing a manifestation of my soul. I know it. Yes. But you cannot touch it, you cannot see it. So this is one of the problems or difficulties that I find people have when connecting to their soul. On another level, we live in a world obsessed with appearances, and we don't know what the essence is. the concept of essence, and I go back to my work in Egyptian dance, because there is no Egyptian dance without soulfulness. That's part of the definition. So this is a difficulty that everyone who studies with me will bump into sooner or later. That you cannot dance, you cannot move from appearances. Look how cute I am. Look how sexy I am. Look how I can move my hips, or look that, although that's the familiar, more common way of doing things, that is not the Egyptian dance that I got to love. And that is definitely not the thing that I do professionally. So we have to come in contact with the essence. And the essence is the soul.
Yes.
The essence, what cannot be seen. It's not how you dress, as you were saying. It's not if you wear a feather, or if you did this course or another course, you went to the retreat. All of that is fluff. It's fluff. But the essence, basically, ancient Egyptians used to connect the soul or the spirit with the heart. That's a very old association between soul and heart. When people died and they went into the purgatory phase, the equivalent to the purgatory in the Christianity, there were judges in ancient Egypt, in the other world, in between worlds, not the other world, was in between, in the frontier, that would take the weight of your heart. There was a scale, they would weight your heart, and they would have a feather on the other scale. If the scale was as heavy or lighter than your heart, you would go to hell. You would go to a place, to a dimension of a lower frequency. If your heart was lighter than the feather, you would go directly to a higher frequency place. This is ancient Egypt. It's still present in Egyptian culture, and obviously as a consequence, it is present in Egyptian music and dance. And that takes us back to the quality of our hearts, where the essence of the person lies. But we don't look for that, because we also don't live in a world where the quality of the heart is valued. You are valued by the clothes that you wear. You are valued by the bloody car that you're driving. You are valued by the material possessions and conquerings that you've gathered, but you're not valued for the quality of your heart, the quality of your character, the quality of your mind. So of course people are disconnected from the essence, disconnected from the soul, you know. And it is
that's why, sorry to interrupt you, that's why I talked about the body and nature. There's where you can see it. If you can sit for a few minutes in a forest, in a park, you can do it in the city as well, near a river, near the sea, near the mountains, you can feel it, and you can touch it, because it's in the nature, it's in your surroundings. But we just don't take time to appreciate, to breathe, to disconnect from Wi-Fi and to connect to the beautiful Wi-Fi within the nature. You know, that connection between the trees. That's Wi-Fi. That's an amazing Wi-Fi. So we cannot touch it in a way, but we can touch it, because if you're present, you're in a river, or you're in the sea. So just feel the water, feel the coldness, or the warm, or the warmth. Feel the things around you. The senses. We have to wake up the senses, the physical senses, to wake up the other senses, the ones that we cannot touch, we cannot see.
The more embodied you are, the more soulful you become. This is something that I have observed also through the practice of dance, Egyptian dance specifically. The more in your body, in your senses you are, the more directly you connect to the soul, which also goes totally against what we've been sold, which is the physical body is the enemy of the soul. That if you want to be a soulful spiritual person, you cannot be embodied, you cannot be sensual, you cannot be connected to the physical. And that's such huge nonsense, because once again, we are animals. Let's not forget, we are animals,
Yes,
animals
yes,
like cats and
absolutely,
dogs.
absolutely.
We are divine at the same time. We are animals with a soul. We are physical creatures that are a soul. So when you reject one dimension, you're rejecting the others. When you reject your physical body, you are rejecting your soul at some level, and your
Yeah,
mind and your heart, because
yeah.
everything is interconnected. Now, we had so many things to talk about, and we already went overboard, as
Oh
I
my God.
you would. I'm going to ask you one more question about one of the subjects that we love. You do it professionally. I am just curious. I love it, as you know, and I love to hear you speaking about it, which is astrology, one of the areas of your professional activity, not the only one, but one of them. And I
Hmm.
would like you to tell me, what do you believe is the role of astrology in today's life? How can it help people?
Well, astrology for me, it's a GPS. It's a compass. Uh, it always have been a compass to help you navigate through life. Uh, because we have to think about life. Life is made of cycles. So we have to think about life within this context uh, of being made of small and bigger cycles. So astrology, it's a great compass to help us um, to navigate, to not to control, but to be prepared. The thing is, people just think of the moment, like, oh, please let me know what's happening right now in my chart. What transits am I going through? Okay, we can do that, but we have to talk in cycles. What happened 7 years ago? What happened 14 years ago? What happened 12 years ago? So we have to have this kind of global, we have to zoom out to see um, this is a whole, not just the tree, but the forest. And nowadays, more than ever, I think it's very important to bring back astrology with quality, not that BS astrology that people read in the magazines or uh, some people talking on TV. Some of them are not even astrologers. I'm sorry, but it's true. Because nowadays everybody seems to know about Mercury in retrograde, you know, cliches.
Yeah.
People are talking about cliches. They don't know nothing about this and they're talking about this, you know. Um, there's a lot of BS going on, but people don't educate themselves. You have to study, you have to educate yourself. It's a thing for life. You're you have to study in a continuum because astrology is as huge as the whole universe. So you always have to educate yourself, stay curious, um, ask questions, be amazed because people, as an astrologer, I always I'm always amazed, the other day I was talking about astrology with another friend of mine, and she's having a Uranus transit to her moon and Mars. And she's in her Uranus opposition, a thing that happens in our middle age. And she went um, to make a booby operation. A surgery. She had booby implants.
Okay, I didn't see that coming. All right. Surprise. Surprise,
Surprise.
surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't see.
And I was but it was amazing because I was like, wow, this is so interesting. Uranus to the moon, our um, female body, moon, breasts, moon,
Mhm.
and Uranus, surgeries, sudden urges, and Uranus Mars is the surgery aspect. And I was like, wow, this is so impressive. I always get impressed and amazed. It's a way to look at a transit. I would
Absolutely.
never see that coming.
Yeah. But it
I
makes
would never
perfect
see that
sense.
coming.
It makes sense. That's wonderful. Yeah. Would you say that astrology is a good tool for self discovery, for self knowledge? Because, as you mentioned, most of us, we're so anxious and we want to control the future. We live this collective disease of control freaks. We want to know what will happen tomorrow. We want to make sure nothing will go awry. We want to make sure we will succeed. We want to make sure this and that. When life is unpredictable, it's its nature. It doesn't matter how much astrology you like, you don't like, you don't know. If you cannot surrender to life, and if you don't know that life will always surprise you, I mean, are you even alive? So I always find this a little bit distressing that we're so obsessed with knowing what will happen, what will not happen. And of course, people go to astrologers for sure. And most of them, I mean, most of them will ask, will I get a job? Will I move? Will I this? Will I that? When the question, perhaps the most important question would be, how can I know myself a little bit deeper so that I can manage the only thing I can control, which is me? I'm the only
Yes.
thing I can control, and barely, I mean, barely. You're very
Yeah.
lucky if you can control yourself. You are a master of Zen. You are illuminated. I mean, most of us cannot even control ourselves. How can you control life or control other people, control events? I mean, you're very, very lucky and privileged if you can control yourself. And what I feel is that sometimes we're searching for the illusion of control and we don't search enough for a tool that can actually show you a glimpse of your native identity, which of course has evolved, hopefully, throughout the years with experience and mistakes and everything we live. And why don't we focus so much more on tell me more about myself so that I can manage my wounds, I can manage my fragilities, I can manage my dark points, my blind spots, my shadows. I can make the best out of the potential that I was born with. Can you please give me news about myself? It is so much more interesting than tell me if I'm gonna make it for that job. But at the same time, because self-knowledge brings responsibility,
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
We may run away from it. And of course, we have to talk about Saturn, my baby boy. Susana knows I am a Saturn lover. I love Saturn. So, because Saturn really reminds you of responsibility. If you know thyself, and astrology, I believe it can really help you to know yourself throughout different phases of your life. If you know yourself, you become responsible to do the best that you can with what you've got. And that power, that responsibility can be scary because
It
suddenly,
is scary. It is.
right?
Yes.
But it would be so much more interesting and so much more constructive if instead of trying to control the uncontrollable, which is life, if we could have the strength and the inner discipline, two words connected to Saturn, of course, um, to say, you know what? This is what I've got to work. It's good, it's bad, it's terrible, it's very good. I got it easy here. Here it's difficult. I have this block here. Here it's fluid. What can I do with this? Because that's on my hands. That's something that I can actually control.
Yeah. And those are the questions. The truth is that those are the questions you should ask. Just to get this clear, you can have different lines of work in astrology. My line of work is psychological and transpersonal astrology. This thing, uh, astrology as a personal reading is a very recent thing, because in ancient times, and we're talking about millennia, astrology is as ancient as that, people read to the kings, to the kingdom. Each kingdom had an astrologer. And of course, the king wanted to know, is this a good time to go and attack that city? Or, to go and have a war? Kings like to do, just kings things. So the people, they were just the people. So this is a very recent thing, to make an individual consultation, to make an individual reading. And you have traditional astrology that really predicts stuff. I don't know much about traditional astrology. I think it's very interesting. It's very rich, and it's very weird for me, because that's not my cup of tea. I don't want to predict things to a T. It's not my thing. I just want to grow, and I just want to help people grow. And Dane Rudyard is the father of modern astrology, of psychological and transpersonal astrology.
Mhm, mhm.
So we're talking about very recent things. We're talking about just a few decades ago. This is very recent, and maybe people don't know yet the potential for self-discovery, for self-knowledge, for self-development in this tool that is astrology. And yes, answering to your question, yes, it's a precious tool for self-development. Absolutely. Because we're talking about archetypes. And this would be another podcast. We're talking about archetypes,
Yes.
symbols. Symbols are very powerful. This is a very powerful tool, a very powerful language. Some people just read a map, a road map. Some people read a sea map, the mountains map. I read the skies map. It's a map, and it's just an orientation. It's written in the stars, but it's not written in stone. You know the difference?
Yes.
Can you see the difference? It's written in the stars. It's
And
not
sometimes,
written in
and
stone.
correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes what we may call a blockage or an aspect in your natal chart that is considered negative, a negative or difficult aspect, can be your biggest area of growth. It can be that challenge can turn into your biggest, strongest point. And on another level, things that are very fluid, things that you were born with fluidity, easiness, working for you, can be areas where you actually become weak and bland and not very much alive. So sometimes I also feel that astrology can be taught with a little determinism, a bit of determinism, and people take it with determinism. If I was born with a negative aspect between Mercury and I don't know what, it means I will never be able to be a good communicator. If in my natal chart I was born with this aspect, it means I will always be great at something. And it doesn't work like that. Because
No,
then what you do with what you've got determines the person you will become.
no, I don't like I don't like this approach at all. You know that. I don't like that
Mhm,
approach at all.
mhm.
And yes, when you are going to study some of the most interesting people in the world, the doers, the ones that you love,
Yes,
you love the doers.
I love the doers. Yeah.
When we are studying those charts and those lives, and you can see those are the people who have the most challenging aspects, the most difficult, the most challenging. When you look at that, you're just, oh, poor, my God, this is, oh, help me. But those are the people who make the most of it because it's hard, because they have to push through it, because they make the most of it. They made the most of it, of those difficult aspects.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is. It is. Sometimes it's very harsh, sometimes very painful, absolutely painful. But when you have, we're talking about trines. It's a very fluid aspect. Um, when someone has a lot of trines in a chart, you know, you don't have nothing to bother you. You're just okay. It's just, when you have a lot of squares, when you have a lot of oppositions, when you have a lot, you know, oh, it seems life is always biting your toes or something. And sometimes you just don't know why, but you're compelled to push yourself harder, to go through things, to 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 have breakthroughs, to have epiphanies.
Because you feel uncomfortable.
Yes,
And discomfort can be very fertile.
yes, it is. It is. Maybe we cannot see it when we're going through a tsunami, but yes, it is.
Mhm.
It is.
Now, a provocation connected to what you mentioned to close our conversation. And again, there is so much we left behind. I had a long list of questions, but predictably, one answer takes to another question and
Yeah.
we multiply everything. So you mentioned that some astrologers do predictions, right? This is going to
Yes.
happen. This is a year of the planet. I don't know what. Wars are probable, or financial crisis, or this or that. Does that mean that life and what we call destiny is predefined? Does that mean we are not free? That whatever is going to happen independently of what each one of us does, independently of what the collective does?
That's such a good question, my God, as always. And I don't know if my English is good enough to say what I want to say, uh, because that's such an amazing question. When I talk about prediction, well, I have a lot of amazing colleagues, even in Portugal, you have amazing astrologers. talking about mundane astrology. And that's very interesting. As I told you, it's not my cup of tea, but I love to read them. You have a lot of great information about the collective, because we are talking about the collective. And that, I think it's very interesting, because we are talking about the big cycles. And these are people that study history and history cycles, and how can they repeat themselves, and what to do to avoid certain things that are happening collectively.
Hmm.
And that's very interesting. That kind of thing I like. I don't practice it, but I love to read about it, and I love to read my colleagues, Portuguese or otherwise, that make this kind of astrology. Um, the other the reading for one person, your personal astrology chart, that's another thing. So let's make here a separation, because when we're talking about the collective, we are talking about a force that makes us move as a mass, and a mass is going to act a certain way, in repeated ways, unfortunately, um, in many things, in repeating wars, in repeating, politics, that kind of stuff.
But I mean, sorry to interrupt you, independently of what we may do or may not do, we are gonna go through those cycles, right?
Collectively, yes.
Collectively.
Yes, yes.
That's the question, which is, so maybe we're just the canvas for the movements that are meant to happen no matter what. So we don't have so much power as we presume we have, at least not in the big movements.
I'm a believer that, but this is just me. This is a personal thing. I believe that we have 50-50. 50% is written, you write the other 50%. But this is just my thing. Because sometimes you look at your life and you just see, oh, this is weird, but this is kind of meant to be. And there's no explanation for that. I'm a Jungian astrologer. So Carl Jung is my, Saturn is your lover, Carl Jung is my lover, and then that's okay. Carl Jung has a lot of answers to these questions, and I love him for that. But yes, 50% is written somehow. The other 50% is, what do you do with those 50% that are written? How do you react? What do you do with that? But with self-awareness, with self-consciousness, we can change some things. Because when you're self-conscious, of course, you're not going to repeat some patterns in your life. You're not going to repeat the same mistakes. That's obvious. Kind of. For me, at least. It's obvious. But if you're not self-conscious, of course, you're going to be in a mouse wheel, just circling around, doing the same mistakes, attracting the same kind of people, attracting the same kind of trouble,
I'm sorry to annoy you, but I will have to bring Saturn again.
Oh my God.
Of course, of course. Why wouldn't she?
Yes, of course,
Why
right.
wouldn't she? So it's what I call learning from experience, right? It's school as a life school, right? I mean, I am living and I am learning, but only if I am present and willing enough to observe experience and learn from experience so that I don't repeat the same patterns and mistakes. And for that, you need to look at what's working, what's not working, how can I do it differently, and also look at what is destined to happen in a dynamic way, because we can react to things in many different ways. There are many different ways. There is not only one possible reaction to a movement, let's say a collective movement. You can react by saying, okay, I'm going to do what everyone is doing. You can react by doing the opposite of what everyone is doing. You can react by rising up and doing better. You can react by going down and the rule of the least effort. There are so many ways to react to reality. And that's what we call free will. That's what we call free will.
Yeah.
We call co-creation also. I am creating with creation. I don't change everything and I don't control everything. I control a little bit. Again, if I'm lucky, I control a little bit. But in that little bit that I control, I have so many options. So many options. Some people, as you know, when they go through a crisis, they rise up.
Yes.
And others with the same crisis enter in a deep depression.
Yeah.
I will explain this. Some people have huge loss of a loved one, loss of a job, and they say, this is a huge opportunity for me to claim my joy. And others will go totally down the drain. So it's not so much what happens around you and what is destined, but how you react with that, to that, right? What do you decide to do? And knowing that you have the choice of doing differently, you have the choice of going up or down, you have the choice of surrendering or fighting against, you have choices. You have choices. That's, in other word, what we call self-empowerment.
Yes.
And it is so beautiful. I love it.
Actually, Saturn is the only energy we can cooperate with, because the transpersonal planets, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, they are unpredictable. That's why they are transpersonal. You cannot know how a Pluto or Neptune or Uranus transit is going to turn out. It just don't. You can have some references, okay? It's okay. But Saturn, we can cooperate with Saturn. I know why you love him. I know that. I know.
I rest my case.
Yes, we can cooperate with that. Sometimes is a teacher that can be very, oh my God, he can be very, he can feel like a punisher. But if we know how to cooperate with that teacher that is trying to tell us something, to teach us some kind of lesson in our life, in a different area of our life, things may not be easy, but they can be a little bit easier.
I feel it takes a lot of humbleness to work with Saturn because he's often the harsh teacher. He's gonna bring you to your knees to do the job you need to do. It doesn't matter how hard or cold it will be. You have to do your part. And then if you are a good student, he will reward you. But only if you are a good student, only if you do the homework.
And if you can understand that that's a period in your life, talking about transits, for instance, you know that's going to be, you're going to feel a little bit restrained, and you're going to feel sometimes tired, and you're going to feel chained or something like this. but sometimes is the thing is stop. Just stop, look around, look at your life, look at what's happening. What can I do different this time? What it is that is being asked from me. So instead of battling, instead of fighting this energy, just respect that energy.
And restriction is not necessarily bad. Restriction is not necessarily a negative thing. You can be restricted and feeling like you're stuck and feeling like things are not flowing. And as a consequence, you become still. As a consequence, you go within because you have no other choice. Things are quite muddy. They're not flowing. They're not moving. So you say, okay, I cannot fight this battle, man. It is stronger than me. So let me stay put. Let me observe. Let me stay still and see where this is taking me and what is asked of me. What is the master asking me to do? Oh, master.
The master. But you know, Joanna, you have something that I don't find in anyone that I know. I have to say this because you are so self-conscious. You are very connected. So because you're connected, I never forget that transit of yours, Saturn 3 or 12th house, when you just thought to yourself, now I'm going to be still. I have to die to some forms of my life, of my work, and I'm going to be an hermit right now, and I'm going to the countryside, and I'm going to a silent place, and I'm going to be still, and I'm going to incubate new ideas, new seeds, because
a new identity. A new identity.
Because I feel it's what I have to do now. People don't work like this, my friend. That's the truth. People just panic. Once I had a client that was going through a massive Saturn and Pluto transit to the midheaven, and the image to something like this is 9/11. It's 9/11, as I told her. You're going through 9/11. The planes just hit the towers. You know, you are at that moment when the planes just, crashed the towers. And she was so mad. She was so angry. She was like, but I want to know when am I going to work again? When am I going to do this again? What? And I was like, I don't know. What do you feel about this? Because many times people come for answers. They don't expect questions. They want, they want the ready-made. They want the food to be chewed for them. And it's not. I like to ask questions to a client. What do you feel about this? What have you been doing about this? And as in 9/11, you have to go through a process. First, you have to save the living and the injured. Then you have to bury the dead. Then you have to clean the debris. Then you have to rebuild. And then you have, it's a process.
And sometimes there are no answers to be given. And it doesn't matter how many times you ask, where should I go? What is going to happen? What should I do? Nobody will deliver an answer because it is a time for no answers. And once again, we go back to the control freak society. We want to have control and our ego goes crazy. I
The
would believe
void,
it,
sorry to interrupt you, the void, it's a very difficult place to be.
but very fertile.
Yes, because it's where the seed is going to grow.
Very fertile and very
But
healing,
it's
very
scary.
healing. It is scary. It is scary. I'm just going to tell you a little detail of what you mentioned. When I went through that big Saturn in 12th house transit, and I literally went to hide in an hermit's place in the middle of nowhere. And my life was really, I felt a huge chapter was coming to an end and a new one was starting, but I could not see where it would take me and how it would look like. And one of the things I loved the most was in a very harsh condition because it was a countryside home without conditions, very simple, very basic. I woke up like 5 in the morning, 5 something with the sun. I would go bare feet to the river to bathe in the river with all the question marks in my head. I remember I made that walk alone, surrounded by nature, animals, forest. I entered the water alone. Can you imagine a huge river in front of me and I'm the only one there and animals? I went into the water, but I knew I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. In other words, I had Saturn holding my hand. I did not know where that would gonna go. I had no idea. And I had no idea what of me would be reborn. But I knew I was having the courage, the guts, the ovaries to do what life was asking me to do. And that was answer enough for me, you know. I felt, okay, I am guided. So let me enjoy this emptiness. Let me enjoy this cold water, metaphorically and literally speaking. Let me enjoy this nothingness. Let me enjoy this death. Let me enjoy this not knowing. Let me even enjoy the despair.
I'm going to tell you a secret, just between us. You have the huge help of Neptune to
Do
do
I?
that.
Do I?
Yes, because you have a sun Neptune. You know, your sun is connected to Neptune. So that's a huge help. Um, yes, you can hold hands with Saturn, but that kind of faith and that kind of blind faith in the sense of I don't know what it's coming. I don't know. I'm becoming something, but I don't know yet what it is right now at this moment. But the old ways just don't serve me anymore. The old me just don't serve me anymore. And that's a little help from Neptune.
Mm,
It's a very good friend of yours as well.
really?
So, yes, it
I
is.
thought it was just making me crazy.
No, no. It's a
No,
very good friend of yours
I did not know.
because you let yourself be guided uh, with this inner knowing that the river is going to the sea somehow.
Mm.
You cannot see how it is going to the sea. You don't know how or what the path looks like, but you just know this river is going to the sea. Okay.
Okay, I
And
did
that's
not
our
know.
friend Neptune
Mm, okay.
helping you through the process.
It is wonderful. And I think that sometimes the most empowered thing you can do is feel powerless and allow life to take you where you're supposed to be taken, you know. And you know, I'm all about going for it, struggling when necessary, fighting against it when necessary. I'm all for that. But sometimes, especially in crisis, you really have to recognize when life is giving you no choice but surrendering. And sometimes that's the only choice. I mean, you can fight as much as you want, you can yell, you can go hysterical, do the entire circus thing. But it's not going to make it better, or it's not going to give you an answer. Sometimes life takes over. You don't know what comes ahead. You don't know the exact direction, and you have to trust. You have no option.
I think that was a beautiful thing that you did back then. Um, I think it was very self-conscious and very humble because of all of your story, of course.
Yeah.
That was very humble, you know. You just surrendered yourself. And that was beautiful. I admire that a lot.
But also because I never identified with what I do. I mean, knowing myself, I know that the most interesting part of me is who I am. It's not what I do. So when my circumstances started to change, and when I felt the career path that I was taking was not serving me anymore, when I felt that the lifestyle that I had so far, traveling the world, teaching, never staying more than a week in one place, was not serving me anymore, my identity was not attached to it. My identity was never, and I hope it will never be attached to what I do. What I do is wonderful and I love it, but that's
Can
not.
we have that in a t-shirt? Can we have that in a banner? That's
We
so
should.
important.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
we should have that in a t-shirt and banners and, show it to
yeah,
the world.
yeah. Because if you attach what you do to your identity, your sense of identity, what happens? What happens if what you do goes away?
People get hysterical, as I was telling you about this client. She was nuts because she wanted an answer. She was out of her job. Her life was changing big time. And she was like, but I want to know, screaming. I was like, right now, you're at the crossroad. Just breathe and read, educate yourself, do some therapy. Just give it space. Give it space to kind of develop, you know.
And perhaps do things that you usually didn't do. I remember that during that transit, which was quite long actually, it was almost 2 years.
Yeah.
I found myself doing things that I usually don't do. Again, contemplating nature, just sitting down and watching the river, observing the river, um, going on long walks with no agenda, no goal, no nothing. I was just walking because I wanted to walk, um, getting lost in reality, very Neptunian, yes, in that sense, very Neptunian, getting lost without a goal. And I found that most of all, it was so healing. More than providing the space for a new identity to be born, it was a space where, because I had no control, my mind could not control what was going on, could not even understand it, for God's sake. I
Okay.
didn't understand anything. I said, what the hell is going on? I just know I need to be here, but I don't understand what's going on. So if I don't understand, let me experience it. I don't want to understand it anymore. Khalas, I'm done with this. I don't need to
Let me
understand.
experience it. You
Yeah,
see?
yeah,
Let
let
me
me experience.
experience it.
Yeah, let me be present.
Presence again. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, let's go for the closing questions. Ping pong and recommendations. So at the end of each episode, I ask my guest to give us a few ping pong answers. So you're supposed to answer at the top of your head. Don't think too much. And then a
Okay.
few recommendations. Okay. Let's go for
Okay.
the ping pong first. And by the way, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the links to Susana's work in the show notes. So if anyone wants to reach out for a consultation, for reading of a map, if anyone wants to know about your work in the theater as an actress, they will have the collection of links that will
Or
lead.
my training. Or my training. Um,
Everything about your work will be in the
yeah.
show notes. So I did not want to forget this because it's going to be linked. Okay. Now, favorite word.
Okay, favorite word, I have to say it in English because I have different favorite words in Portuguese and in English. In English, it has to be flabbergasted. I love it.
It just sounds so,
Yes, I'm flabbergasted. I love this word. And
yes,
the meaning, I love it.
yeah, yeah, I got it. Favorite feeling?
Peace, inner peace.
Mm. Favorite food?
Ice cream.
Favorite place?
Well, my shire, my my family's small village in the countryside of Portugal. I call it the Shire.
Mm. One wish for yourself.
To continue to grow and to continue to have the ability to listen to my body and my soul.
One wish for the world.
Get your shit together, people. That's my wish for the
With
world.
love. With love.
Yeah, tough love.
With love.
I sometimes I just give tough love. This is tough love. Get your shit together, please. Grow up.
That's Saturn.
Yes.
Just saying. I know I am annoying with Saturn, but he's everywhere. Everything that is good, everything that is worth repeating, he's in it. One positive change everyone can do to empower themselves.
Look yourself with kinder eyes. Look to yourself with kinder eyes.
That's a big one. Before I cry, let's go for the recommendations. One book or books that everyone should read.
Tough one. Fiction or
Anything you want,
anything?
anything you
Okay.
feel is going to be powerful, interesting, transformative.
Okay. Um, I don't know. It's coming to my mind. A small book, but a very powerful one called Awareness by Anthony de Mello. Awareness. It's taken. It's from It's not a written book. It's taken from a workshop that he did, and it's an amazing little book with so many lessons,
Mm.
with tough love, lots of tough love.
Ah, okay. A movie everyone should watch.
Oh my God, why? Why are you doing this to me? Why? You're
Or a
mean.
couple, a couple of movies.
You are so mean. Oh my God. Thelma and Louise. Don't ask me why.
One word that uplifts your soul.
It's not a word. Um, it's a sound. It's the sound of water running.
Okay. That uplifts your soul.
Yes, a lot.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This is the end of our conversation. We left so much out
Oh my God.
for the best possible reasons. I imagined this would happen. So thank you so much. Once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link whatever is interesting for you to share with our viewers and listeners in the show notes so that they can know more about you. They can
Okay.
search for you. I'm also going to invite everyone to subscribe to the podcast, of course, and to Joana Saahirah's World newsletter. All this information is going to be in the show notes. I'm going to invite you to join us in our upcoming episode. And last but not least, I want to thank you for being here. Let's see if I don't cry.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. It's special because I know this is a very loved and wanting baby of yours, this podcast. So it's a pleasure.
I'm
It's
honoring my Mercury.
Yes, you are, and your Jupiter, a lot. But thank you for having me. It's amazing to be a part of this world of yours that is so rich and so juicy always. Thank you.
Thank you for being my friend.
Oh my God, don't do this.
Yeah. It is so precious independently of the podcast.
She's going to make me cry.
I'm already, I don't know if you can see, but I'm already going like that.
I have to use my Saturn moon connection to close the thing.
Yes. And thank you for being such a loving presence in my life, an inspiration. In some ways, in the best possible ways, also a mother figure. I never told you this.
No, you haven't. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm not crying. You are.
I am. Okay. Thank you so much, Susanita. Thank you so much. And I hope this was inspiring for our listeners and for our viewers. I will see you guys in an upcoming episode, and I will see you very soon, Susana. Thank you so much. A big kiss.
So I love you.
I love you too.
Love you.